For Formula Fridays here at ISRL Esports. It is round 3 out of 16 here at the Canadian Grand Prix as we are just here in the lobby waiting to kick things off in just a few moments. I'm your host, Fallen Monkeys, back at it again in the commentator's booth, joined as always by my co-commentator and partner in crime, ISRL Asunik. Asunik, how are you doing today? We'll check back to Asunik in just a moment as we're just getting the last few things up and ready to go. No worries, there we go, Asunik back here in the commentator's booth. So I'll ask again, how are you doing today as we're seeing the drivers readying up to kick things off?
Oh, doing fantastic. Sorry about that. Just it got snagged on my shirt and I ripped it out and I couldn't plug it in time. And of course you were looking for me to. So.
Oh, that's quite all right.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Excited for racing, as I always am. I mean, every week now, as now the timer is just restarting once again. We've got some drivers, I think, having a little bit of fun here in the pre-game lobby before we kick things off for our one-shot qualifying, followed by a 25% race. And then, of course, for anybody who's new, after the 25% race, it's not over yet. We got a reverse grid 5-lap bonanza sprint to the finish for the second race. So I hope you're excited, hope you're ready to go, hope you're strapped in, because we are just about ready to kick things off with the one-shot qualifying here. Now, of course, once again, I'm going to go through my usual questions leading into the race. What are some things we should be looking out for as we're just getting ready to start the session here?
Weather. Weather's probably going to be a big thing. We got a dynamic weather system, so you never know in Canada, so,
yep.
And again, as we say every week, patience. And
yep.
so far we've been treated to,
I feel like you're seeing it before the stream does, so we've got maybe a little bit of an indication of what's to come, as we've still got the black screen and,
yeah.
Nice and sunny. Tiny little bit of clouds here for the one-shot qualifying, as drivers are just getting their setups ready before we can kick things off with the one-shot qualifying. And of course, but I do have to agree with you, Canada more than most, as J-Dunk is the first to hit that ready up button. And remind me, is J-Dunk here just reserving for Formula Fridays, or does he have a full-time seat now?
Oh, he has a full-time seat. J-Dunk he raced last week and he raced this week. He loves the concept, so.
Perfect.
NFS.
Yeah, with the NFS, a bit of a partner league that we have here. No, there we go. I mean, I'm not too sure what's going on with my little check marks, but I think we're getting ready soon enough. But I mean, I was just going to say, Canada, as you were saying with the weather, it is a bit more weather prone than most, similar to, I mean, even China, like we saw last week, that was just filled with wet weather conditions. But, you know, of course, it's Canada. Maybe it's dry in qualifying. We might see some weather kicking in for the race and maybe even the second race, as we're just here getting ready with this one-shot qualifying. And it's given me Passassin, so let's actually ride on board with ISRL Passassin as he takes us through a lap here of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montréal, Quebec. As my French is coming out here, a bit of a native secondary language for me, so I mean, I love this track, of course, maybe a little bit of a bias, as coming through, I believe.
Love it.
Yeah, but down this middle straight here, I guess the back straight, has DRS coming through this turn, takes the first corner very nicely, because you don't want to go too wide, because you're going to invalidate through the inside of that corner. Now, of course, the hairpin Lipeng here, very, very difficult to take it nicely, but has a little bit of a lockup, but doesn't look like that affects him too much. But currently sitting in P2, as Izat Kush is leading the way here at the nearing the end of the qualifying lap. So this might be a little bit of a sprint to the finish, as they've got one last little chicane, and it looks as though Passassin nailed it. Izat Kush falls all the way down the order, so that was an invalidation. As now we're seeing this qualification, but what happened tonight elsewhere?
Oh, he, much like yourself, loves the track. He shot that last chicken, as we've been calling it, the last chicane. He shot right up the order from, I want to say, like P5 all the way up to P2.
Oh my, so yeah, look at that. Up into second, and that's a nice front row of the grid start for ISRL Knight. But of course it is Passassin who's going to be starting on pole with the 108.380. Knight alongside him, Josh 2 in third, Sweet Crown 19, only a P4 for his work, and Feral Fury rounding out the top 5. Pretzel's coming in 6th, Carter in 7th, Dark in 8th, Chill Mo in 9th, and Joseph Cozy rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Monkey Mafia, Hartman, J-Dunk 11th, 12th, and 13th, with Izat Kush, Sophion, and ISRL Mushroom starting from the back of the grid as they disqualified at some point during the lap. I know Izat Kush, I think that was, funny enough, through that last chicken, as I guess you've been calling it there. I saw him, he was up on pole, but shot all the way down the order. But just like that, oh, there's the weather gods coming to our support and bringing some, what I'm going to assume is probably going to be some intermediate tire racing to kick off this 25% race.
I told us so.
Yep, you called it with the weather, and so far, looks to be pretty on point. But I guess we'll have to see if, I'm curious to see whether or not this is going to be changing weather conditions, or if it's just going to be an intermediate race the entire way through. I know our Tier 4 race had some interchanging conditions with their race on Wednesday night. If I remember, I think it went from wet to dry, so maybe something a little bit similar for Formula Fridays. But not as much time, of course, with a 25% race. But up to the red lights. We've got 4 red lights, 5 red lights, already with the 5 red lights. And we are off as drivers getting a little bit cautious off the restart. But we can see a few moves. Josh, too, getting a nice run up into the first corner here as he takes the lead. And, oh, my goodness, Knight has a bit of a wobble. Or I think that was Knight, either that or Carter. No, I think that was Knight who had a moment through into turn 2. Takes a little bit of contact, and actually, who was that who's going sideways down the order? That's Dark, not having the start he was hoping for. Might have been caught up in that incident here. And I'm seeing Izat Kush down the order, and J-Dunk down the order as well. Oh my goodness! A car went on top of another there. That was Carter and Knight, I believe, that had a bit of a moment with one another as we saw that on stream. So things going off here in the first lap at the Canadian Grand Prix, to say the least, as we've got Chunky Corgi joining in. Cozy falling down the order, takes the penalty, but a little bit of a blatant penalty for him as he just cuts that chicane there entirely. Some might say it's an interesting line that Joseph Cozy took, as Izat Kush now, after taking a little bit of end plate damage, rocking that rainbow car, having to work his way up the order, but definitely going to have a lot of work cut out for him. But I want to jump back to this this podium battle, because Sweet Crown 19 right up close to Passassin, and I'm seeing moves elsewhere on the track a little bit further down. So it looks like we've got some moves going on everywhere. So what did you see through this first lap?
It's just pandemonium. There was just as you'd mentioned the car on top of another. I looked over at the stream because I have it up, and I don't know what that had to just be some latency there, but
well, that's what I'm thinking too. Like I didn't know what to say.
Cars just everywhere.
Yep.
J-Dunk, Mushroom, Dark, all diving into the pit.
Yep, having to take that early pit stop, but of course it might could potentially play into an advantage as they won't have to pit elsewhere. But look at this, we've got Pretzels going side by side with Feral Fury as they're going through the chicane, and Feral Fury just leaving enough room, and there's contact there as well, and I think they've that's a spin for both cars, I believe, as they're both falling down the order, trying to get back on track, and not what they were hoping for here in the first 2 laps. So already these intermediate conditions look to be causing a lot of trouble for these drivers in the first few laps, as I think maybe with the colder tires, not having that formation lap to kind of get the feel of the track is maybe causing a few issues for these drivers, I think.
Yep. Pretzel's massive wheel spin out of that chicane there, and overcorrected into the side of Feral Fury, and around they both went synchronized spinning.
Yep, and
I don't think they took damage, so...
No, I don't think so. I think it might have just been they touched wheels, and of course, with the wet weather conditions, it's very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to keep the car and very easy to spin. But while all of that was happening, I watched. We saw on stream Isaac Kush getting a very nice move done on Monkey Mafia into turn one, and now looking to make a push here to overtake Hartman as just outbrakes him into the slow left-hander, which switches into the right-hander. So Isaac Kush on lap 3 after getting caught up into an incident on lap 1 and not having the qualifying he was hoping for, already up into P8 and trying to catch up to Chill Mo, who's basically right in front of him, only a second ahead.
But still got that. He hasn't paid at all, has he, for that damage, has he? No, he's still out there.
Yeah, so still out there with the end plate damage. So I guess it's not really causing too much of an issue for Isaac Kush. As now Monkey Mafia, I think, is looking to make a move on Hartman, or actually did get the move done, I should say. So Hartman falling down into 10th and Monkey Mafia up into 9th. But still, here in this battle for the top 3, it's still Josh 2 leading the way, with Passassin still holding back Sweet Crown 19, who's been basically within half a second for the entirety of this race so far.
Oh, is that Passassin into the wall? Yeah, he has end plate damage now.
Okay.
Way too close to the wall.
Yeah, okay, so I did see the end plate damage. I was thinking something a little bit worse when you were saying into the wall.
But he is having a hard time hanging onto that car right now.
Yeah, and I think it might only be a matter of time. I wanted to switch over to Knight and Sophion, as they're oh so close to one another. But Sweet Crown 19, it looks to be only a matter of time before this overtake gets done. Because with this end plate damage, I think Passassin's just going to struggle that much more. There's a little bit of contact through the hairpin. Sweet Crown 19 bumping into the back of Assassin, but I don't think that's cause for any concern, as with these wet weather conditions, it's a very difficult braking zone, especially into that hard, very slow hairpin corner here in Canada. But back to Knight and Sophion. Here, Sophion making to put a pressure going down the outside as Knight defends on the inside. And I don't think that was going to work all that well for Sophion, as it's very tough to get an overtake done through the hairpin. But now, as we're seeing in the distance, second time's the charm for Sophion, as just now finally gets the overtake done on Knight, who falls down into 6th. Now, Joseph Cozy, I'm seeing elsewhere, diving into the pits here on lap 5. So did he have some wing damage? Did he get caught up into an incident at some point here?
Yeah, he's getting a wing change, so he's had to have been caught up in something.
Yeah, I guess
Just
so.
not sure.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what had happened. I know he was I saw him overtake Hartman a little bit early, so I'm trying to get the track map on. There we go, just so I can get an idea of where everybody is on track and fill in everybody watching at home. So maybe there might have been some contact with Hartman, as I know he was struggling and falling down the order just a tiny little bit. But I think it's nothing to be worried about all that much. But let's see, who's the closest gap? Oh my goodness. Crucially, it's still Passassin leading Sweet Crown 19 in P2. Looks as though they've basically got the same amount of pace, but right as I switch over, oh, Passassin, that's an interesting line and a half for you there, buddy. As he just basically cuts that final chicane, trying to hold back Sweet Crown 19 as much as he possibly can with the onboard. So still, it's Sweet Crown 19 in 3rd, and probably not too happy he is, as he still has that car of ISRL Passassin in front of him.
He's in the wall again.
And once again, Passassin in the wall, struggling with that corner, it looks like. Now, Feral Fury overtaking Monkey Mafia elsewhere on track, but now are we going to see the overtake happen? We've got a really nice angle there with the helicopter cam for a little bit, and finally the move gets made. So the beast has been unleashed in Sweet Crown 19, but has a very big gap to catch up in 12 laps. That's 7 seconds to try to catch up to Josh 2, who's leading the way just at the hairpin now, as just now you can see Sweet Crown 19 and the rest of the gang approaching. But Josh 2 kind of just driving his own race right now here, 6 laps in. Not really much of any pressure involved.
Oh, Assassin's... Well, I don't know if Carter's internet is just... seems to be all over the place for me, but Carter up into the podium positions.
Yeah, so I think Bassassin definitely with that second is still continuing on though, crucially. Even with the extra wing damage he took that one lap, well, 1 or 2 laps later compared to the last time at that similar spot. So I guess he's still feeling okay, not willing to take sacrifice that pit stop for the sake of the better aerodynamics. As Josh too crucially, excuse me, takes a penalty, just 3 seconds, but of course that means the net gap is down to 4 seconds now rather than 7. So that is now a little bit more of an advantage to Sweet Crown. But yeah, Carter up into the podiums, having a very solid drive here in the intermediate tires for the first race. And looking, at least for the time being, to be on for a pretty solid finish. But jumping here, there we go. We've got... Oh, what were you going to say?
Oh, on my screen, he's just... Carter's car just looks so weird. It's just jumping around, but I saw it on the stream. It's probably just mine.
Yeah, it could potentially just be a bit of the latency, the lag with the stream. I wasn't seeing it all that much, as you mentioned. But we'll keep an eye on that, and I mean, hopefully it's no cause for concern. But looking here, Feral Fury putting a lot of pressure on Chilmo over the last lap and a bit, as Josh too sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. But hang on, here comes Pretzels wanting to get involved in this battle. So we've got a bit of a 3-car battle going down the back straight here, approaching the Wall of Champions chicken. But Feral Fury making a lunge down the inside. Is it gonna be in time enough? And it looks as though Feral Fury just gets the move done. But now Chilmo might lose out on a second position to Pretzels, who's now down the inside and does get the overtake done. So unfortunately for Chilmo, losing out on 2 spots there in a span of basically a straight and a corner. And down into 10th, but Pretzels had a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit of turn 2, so that might be an invitation for Mo to keep up and maybe make the overtake and take that position right back here on lap 8, as they're getting up to the this left right-hander down into what would normally be a DRS straight, but of course here in the intermediates we don't have DRS activated all that much, unfortunately.
Yeah, the rain doesn't seem to be letting up. It's just been the same consistency the entire race, so could be seeing these inters up until the end, and I'm sure that most of these guys aren't even going to have to pit.
No, well, especially if it's inters to the end, definitely don't think we'll see pit stops other than wing changes like we saw earlier on. But I believe, but yeah, I mean, as you were saying, the rain not letting up at all. It doesn't look like there's going to be any clearance in the clouds, but I mean, of course, we're only halfway through this 25% race, so anything can happen. But for us as commentators, it's a little upsetting with no pit stops, because normally that helps kind of shake up the field, lets us take a look at a few overtakes, where now we've got a lot of gaps starting to form, and a lot of drivers just basically driving their own race right now.
Their closest gap on track is Mushroom trying to make his way by Cozy for 14th.
Well, here, let's actually take a look as they're going side by side now into turn 1. There's a little bit of contact as Mushroom just misses his braking point ever so slightly into turn 1, and but looks as though he does recover decently well, but loses out in that battle with Joseph Cozy, but now has to watch out for J-Dunk, who's putting a lot of pressure now, only half a second gap. And I think it might just be a matter of time, potentially, before J-Dunk gets an overtake done. But then again, you can't really count out ISRL Mushroom. He definitely has the pace, and if he's got one of those days where he's on, he's a very tough driver to beat, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, these guys fighting for reverse grid pole, so...
Yeah, so might, NFS, we have Light Dunk that joined into the session, so I think we might have a few more drivers here for the second race, plus, possibly starting from the back of the grid here. Now, we saw on track Izak Kush working his way, charging up the grid, up into 5th now, as we saw him overtake Sophion to take that 5th spot. but now closing up very, very quickly now on ISRL Passassin to try to overtake him for 4th. So I do think Passassin's struggling a lot more than he might like to admit with the wing damage, but it doesn't look like it's phased Izat Kush all that much.
Oh, Knight's around.
Oh no. Oh, and takes wing damage as well, parked on the circuit here, as you saw Chill Mo just having to weave and dance to get around, and just as that was happening, you've got Passassin and Nizat Kush going side by side. It's a drag race to the hairpin here, as I think it is going to be Izat Kush just getting the overtake. They've got the elbows out. There's a little bit of contact between the two drivers there. Oh my goodness! Lots of contact between the two drivers as Passassin gets the worst of it, as Sophion gets a nice little overtake and looking to put the pressure on Izat Kush right back after losing out on that position just one lap ago. But lots of elbows out racing here between these three drivers over that start-finish straight, as they've been battling it out for position to try to get the best line through the hairpin.
It was a bit, I see more than elbows out there. It seemed, almost like you're trying to run through an offensive line with the football. He got the move done. I don't think they're going to catch Carter, though. Carter's got a decent gap.
No, definitely.
Not making any gains on Josh.
Yeah, they've both been kind of just doing their own race, maybe content with the points that they've got here, sitting in 1st and 2nd. I mean, of course, Suicron 19 never really content unless he's won the race, I'd like to think. So might be looking to make a push here, potentially in the later stages. But, I mean, I feel as though we've spoken a lot about Izat Kush in this Formula Fridays event, and even over the course of Season 4. But not enough credits given to Josh, too, with the amount of pace he has in that car. And this is a prime example here in these intermediate conditions in Canada, that he had a really nice jump off the line and basically never looked back from taking that first place. And it's paying out for him, as he's basically been able to cruise since then, and with 6 laps to go, he's in a very good position to take the win and take those full points here in this first race.
Yeah, funny enough, he was talking earlier this week, actually during the Division 4 race, saying he wished any track besides this one was rain. He does not want to race this track in the rain. Besides Monaco, he said, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't want to race in Monaco rain either, but crucially, it doesn't look like the rain has really affected him all that much, as he's still putting in a solid drive, as we've got some yellow flags here on the circuit approaching the hairpin. So maybe that's the likes of Knight and Mushroom, as already Josh, too, is getting pretty close, and might potentially be on pace to lap. As look at that, Josh 2 setting another fastest lap. That's a 1:19.4 now for the leader, as he's just re-extended that gap to Suicron 19 back up to 7 seconds.
Oh boy, hold on.
Oh, all good, all good. And now looking here, at least on circuit, Sophion and Izat Kush still very close to one another, about 8/10 of a second, 9/10 of a second. Knight and Joseph Cozy look like they got into a bit of a battle early on, and I think Knight, after getting that wing change, a fresh set of boots, fresh wing, back up and running, trying to work his way up the grid now. But of course, he's got 6 seconds to catch up if he wants any chance of battling J-Dunk. And potentially even after that, that might be the most we can see from Knight, as J-Dunk 16 seconds behind the next driver, which is Dark, the driver on the screen here, as now he's going side by side with Hartman, looking to get the overtake done. And it looks as though with that inside line is able to get the overtake, but actually take some grass, which basically invited Hartman to take that position right back through that corner and build up a nice gap, well, about a 1 second gap now to Dark. So a costly mistake, as got a little bit anxious getting that move done, but looked as though it did not pay out for Dark, as he's basically right back to where he started, down in 12th, and with that blue car of ISRL Hartman back in front of him here. let's jump back. The gap down to half a second between... Oh, no worries. Just gap back down to half a second between Isaac Kush and Sophion. I think Sophion just buying his time, looking for the best time to get the move done. But oh my goodness, back here already, as I was saying, the gap was over a second. Dark just closed that up like it was nothing and gets the overtake done, hopefully for real this time, on ISRL Hartman to take that P11 and finally be able to see the that blue car of Hartman in his side mirrors rather than in front and with the spray of the car. Now Pretzels getting very close to Feral Fury for this P7. Monkey Mafia into the pits, so potentially getting a wing change, getting that fresh set of boots on, and that promotes Knight up into P13 from that pit stop there. So gaining some positions. And ooh, Pretzels has a little bit of a tank slapper through the exit of the hairpin there, or not the exit of the hairpin, the corner before the hairpin, as just now they're approaching the hairpin. So losing out on a few, about a second or so, as he was very close to Feral Fury, but now gonna have to make that time right back up. Still,
yeah, they've been pretty much stuck together this entire race. They had that incident together earlier, and now they're still just Pretzels trying to chase him down.
Yeah, but just unable to get the move done. As I noticed, he got close, but then maybe a few costly mistakes, just not being able to solidify that move and get the overtake. But of course, Feral Fury, not an easy customer. He's not going to just give that position away, as I would hope no driver just wants to give any position away. But I mean, Feral Fury especially, if you want to take that position from him, you're going to have to put up a good fight, because he's definitely going to put up a good fight to keep it.
Absolutely. As you've seen, he's held them off for pretty much 10 or plus laps.
Yeah, and I think now, especially here on lap 15, we've got only a few laps to go here in this first race. Lots of penalties on the board, and actually, let's switch over to the penalties here, just to take a look. But as I'm switching over to the penalties, I've got the position changes. Look at that. Izat Kush and Sophion both up 10 positions from their starting orders, so both having a race to remember here in the first race of Formula Fridays, as potentially in the candidates for the biggest movers up the order. And unfortunately, as I'm talking about the biggest movers up, I got to talk about the biggest mover downwards. And that award does go to ISRL Knight, down 11 positions from that front row start, but did get caught up into some incidents here, so there is a little bit of the asterisk on that as well. But if I jump over to the penalties, as oh my goodness, every driver now has taken at least a penalty. Josh 2 with 3 seconds, Sweet Crown 19 with 6 seconds, so definitely advantage Josh 2, as I think barring some crazy mistake, he might just have this one pretty much all wrapped up and signed, sealed, delivered.
Oh, absolutely. Sophion's going to get by Izat on penalties here, but you know he wants to,
yeah,
he wants to do it on track.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially, they're both, well, they're both Tier 1 drivers. They're both showing they've got similar pace, so I think this might be more, even if the overtake gets done with penalties, there is definitely something to be said about these drivers and getting the bragging rights of getting the overtake done on circuit. I mean, it is something I'd like to think a lot of the drivers like to wear with pride in the Discord, and even just in the general chats amongst one another. Just being able to say you're faster on track than the other driver, rather than just, haha, I overtook you on penalties at the end of the race.
Absolutely. And the whole time, Feral Fury and Pretzels been catching Assassin.
Yeah, and look at this. We've got a nice little 3-car battle here, and I think that was Feral Fury who was forced to take an outside line. I thought that would have opened the door to Pretzels, but hang on a minute, as no, it's actually the other way around, as Feral Fury overtakes Assassin. Was that Assassin that hit the wall there once again, or was that Feral that hit the wall? Ooh. Oh my goodness, what's going on, what happened there? Is that Pretzels that, was that Pretzels that hit the wall?
Absolutely, got everybody in the wall there, except for Feral Fury.
Yeah, so Feral Fury
got the gap he needed.
Yeah, so Feral Fury got a nice little double overtake there, up into 6th, And Pretzel's into 7th, and Passassin unfortunately falling down into 8th, but putting a lot of pressure now, I think, on, or was putting a lot of pressure, I thought. But I think the, oh no, well, this is, oh, it's a lap car that I'm seeing here that's causing cause for concern, at least for myself, as I thought there was a really crazy battle going on track, but nope, it's just a ghosted car. Yeah, but as I switched over to Dark, going through the hairpin, bumps into the back of Chill Mo, but nothing to be too alarmed of, as just now, as you saw on the screen, it honestly might have just given Chill Mo a little bit of a speed boost exiting the hairpin corner. Yeah. As now the gap basically grew from what was basically right up onto the diffuser up to 0.8 of a second. But that was very short-lived, as Darks brought this right back down to 0.2 of a second going into the first turn. And Mo going a little bit wide through into turn 1, but takes turn 2 fairly nicely here from what I can see, and doesn't allow Dark to get any moves done, as we've got some yellow flags down the start-finish straight, but I don't think that was anything to be too alarmed of.
All that while, Josh was just cruising to another victory.
Oh my goodness, I actually lost track of the laps. As, now that you mention it, Josh 2 crossed the line to take the win here in the first race, and Sucrow 19 in second. But I want to take a look at these gaps here, as they're oh so close leading up to the line. It is going to be, looks as though Sophion getting the podium, overtaking Carter on penalties, and Isaac Kush down into 5th. So Carter, so the penalties coming to bite Carter in the butt, as he had that podium all but in the bag, but just barely misses out by a second on that podium, but still gets a decent finish into P4 nonetheless for him. But here, looking at this overtake, we've got Chilmo and Dark battling to the line. I thought there was going to be a move that happened, but it looked as though maybe on the final lap, being a little bit cautious, seeing the different penalties, as it is Chilmo crossing the line and keeping that P9 with Dark in 10th. Now, J. Dunk and Knight very close to one another, but once again, I think come the penalties, it might not matter all that much, other than just overtaking bragging rights. As we've got Hartman across the line, and I think just waiting for Mushroom to cross the line as well. And there we have it. That was the first race here at the Canadian Grand Prix for Formula Fridays. And oh my, what a race that was. And it had a little bit of everything, I would say. And honestly,
bit of a hectic start.
Yeah, a bit of a hectic start, which brought up something that in my albeit limited commentating experience and race, commentating experience, especially in league races, I've seen something new today.
Yeah.
Yep, that's, I think, I'll be honest, that's the first time I've seen a car try to jump over another car, or potentially looking to piggyback his way up the grid. But either way, we've got
Spa in real life.
Oh yeah, but there we go with not one but two Michael Schumacher faces on the podium for this first race of Formula Fridays. But let's take us through the order. Josh 2 takes the win after starting in third with the amazing start, and takes full points, takes the win here on race 1. Streetcar 19 comes in second with Sophion getting a podium after qualifying in 15th place. What a drive. Carter getting 4th, just barely missing out on the podium, with Isaac Kush rounding out the top 5 after starting in 14th. Fail Fury in 6th, Pretzels in 7th, Passassin in 8th, Chill Mo in 9th, and Dark rounding out the top 10. Then we have J. Dunk in 11th, Knight in 12th, Hartman in 13th, Monkey Mafia in 14th, Joseph Cozy in 15th, and Mushroom rounding out the order here for the first race. And once this timer ends up, we'll go back to the lobby, but those watching at home, don't go anywhere. If it's not your first time here, you might know what's coming up, but if it is your first time here, I will fill you in. We've got a second race coming. We're not done yet, and it's going to be a reverse order grid 5-lap sprint to for partial points. But that does mean drivers like ISRL Mushroom, who maybe did not have the first race they were hoping for, get that pole position start.
Yeah.
And
Think he fancies a win here.
yeah, I think definitely fancying a win. And I mean, even the likes of some of these other drivers that were just caught up, maybe unfortunate victims of incidents. But of course, it brings the other way around as well, as drivers like Josh 2, Suicro 19, Sophion, Carter, Izat Kush, these top 5 that seemingly basically cruised away after getting that really nice qualifying and that really nice start. Well, they're going to have their work cut out for them here, as they've got basically 5 laps to overtake, let's say, 15 other cars, I would say, to try to get the win once again. Now, we have seen drivers like Izat Kush, like Suicro 19, and I'm sure Josh too as well, be able to pull all of that off. But I mean, of course, Canada being the type of track it is, a very a very high speed track, and not necessarily a long track either. I think they've definitely got their work cut out for them, especially if we load in and have another weather type event like we had in race 1.
I gotta ask a question. Person who just joined, is Mushroom our only British person here? Because the name's not showing up for me. Just for grid purposes.
Let's take a look. So the other British driver that joined?
Yes. All right. So it is Mushroom. I can see it on stream. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Mushroom is the only British driver from what I can see here in the lobby.
Yes, just the name's not showing up for me.
Oh, okay. That ever so frustrating bug that that I know you keep getting with the names just magically disappearing. And I know it is a well-known glitch on this game that would be nice if it got sorted, but maybe. Maybe in time for F1 2021, we might see that finally getting sorted out. But as we're
Izat's Dutch this week.
Oh, changing the moving around. Izat Kush is
so exclusive. Mr. Worldwide. He is ISRL's Pitbull. Little known fact.
Yep, little known fact. Yep, Mr. Worldwide, traveling around the world, repping ISRL wherever he goes. This year out in the Netherlands, representing the Dutch here. As funny enough, I'm loving the flags. We've got Suicro 19 repping the German flag this week once again. So we've got with the podium for race 1, we had a true German and a not so true German, I would say. But let's take a look. Those in the chat watching along, how are y'all doing? How'd you like the first race? Excited for the second race? Let's take a look. What have we missed? Oh, you missed a dandy of a race for the first one, but don't go anywhere, because we'll have our second race in just a few moments. Looking here.
Oh, you haven't missed anything yet. It's about to start.
Yeah, this is where things really kick off for the second race. You can hear D1 drivers on the grid are overrated. Rotation putting a little bit of shade in the chat. But Rotation, what are you doing? You should join the lobby here for the second race. Put your money where your mouth is. Maybe next week we'll see Rotation on the grid for Formula Fridays.
We can only hope.
Yep, we can only hope, and I mean, I'd love to see it getting some of these battles here with the reverse grid order. But as I said last week, this reverse grid 5-lapper, this is what separates the men from the boys here. The real, I guess, the true pacers from the fakers, as I guess, as I'm running out of analogies to use.
We are good to go. Let me just tell them.
Perfect. So we'll be ready to kick things off in just a moment for the second race, as Sunik just given the cue to the drivers to get the ready up, and we'll see it in just a moment. We'll see these green check marks flood the screen on the right hand side to kick things in. Now, of course, it does kick off very quickly once we load in, and it is going to be in about 20 seconds. So, will we see... Oh, or maybe a little bit more, as somebody wasn't quite ready. Love it when the drivers do that. I feel maybe just to spite us in the comms booth and get us to enjoy
They're
it that
probably
much
nervous.
longer.
Turn 1's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Someone's gonna try and go from last to first on the first lap.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Especially with 5 laps, you don't have much time to sit around. So I would not be surprised. But of course,
Let's see what Mushroom can do starting from the P1. Let's see how fast these guys can get up there.
Yeah, I mean, took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say, will Mushroom take this pole position in stride and maybe have a nice outcome? Are we going to see a little bit of what we've seen before? The likes of Izat Kush, Sweetcrown19, Josh 2, Sophion battle their way back up the grid and finish where we're so used to seeing them. I mean, we spoke about him here at the beginning of the session. ISRL Knight always feeling very comfortable here around the Canadian Grand Prix and going to be getting once again a very good qualifying or a very good starting order. Can he put the race he wants together here and get a very nice outcome for himself and maybe take the win? All these questions and more will be sorted in just a moment. And oh my goodness, we have rain once again for this 5-lap reverse order grid. I'm so much more excited now than I was about 5 seconds ago as we were loading in.
I want to take a few deep breaths now.
Yep, excuse me as I'm actually going to go take a quick sip of water before we kick things off.
Who's going to be the hero?
Yep, we'll see. And now, I think the start now is going to be even more crucial than it normally is. Because, of course, with these intermediate conditions, with these wet weather conditions, very easy to get just a little bit too much spin. Now, a little bit too late, but hopefully all the drivers put their setups on, as we've got already 5 red lights and very quick lights to kick things off here to start off the second race. And it looks as though it is going to be Mushroom who gets a nice lead off the start. J-Dunk battling, overtaking a little bit. Looks to be some wing pieces flying. And who is that? That's Josh 2, who was rotated sideways very early on. Not what we were hoping for. Oh, there's a little bit of a red car there that had a little bit of a wobble. That might have been Pretzels, as Carnage once again here in the first few corners here with the intermediates, causing a lot of problems. Oh my goodness, Izak Kush taking a 3-second time penalty very early for corner cutting and gaining a position. But honestly, I don't really think he cares all that much, as J-Dunk and Passassin battling it out. They're probably very used to doing that in some of the other leagues, but we're seeing them here on track here for Formula Fridays. And oh my goodness, it looked like some drivers completely missed the corner. That was Izat Kush that completely missed that chicane there. And what's happening to Dark is just falling down the order, as some of these quicker drivers are just, oh my goodness, a bit of a bus stop here at the Lepeng chicane, and Dark going very slow, so struggling here early on in this second race and falling way down the order, and maybe not having the second race he was hoping for. Carter battling it out and overtook Mo. So we've got a nice little gaggle. Oh my goodness, what happened here? That's J-Dunk, or what's that? J-Dunk basically having to go around and basically takes a Yui, dives into the pits as Sweetcrown19 working his way up. Hartman starting to fall down the order, but just trying to squeeze out Carter as much as he can. Ooh, speaking of Carter, having a little bit of a tank slapper. And loses out in, I think, 2 positions now. Oh my goodness! Where does I switch over?
Through people on my screen.
Oh my! So much going on here. We've got Carter and that's Carter and Hartman, I think, going side by side, or Carter and Pretzels going side by side. That's not Hartman, as Hartman's behind. But just right as I switched over to another driver, I saw a little bit of contact there. So it looks like a lot of calamity here for this 5-lap race. But it's ISRL Mushroom leading the way, and Joseph Cozy up into P2, but going very deep around the exit of the Lepeng chicane, and that might open the door to Monkey Mafia to get a move done down this back straight, leading into the chicane here on lap 3. But oh my goodness, we've got lots of gaps here. Izat Kush trying to close up tonight a little bit further back. But being a little bit cautious here on lap 2. But starting lap 3, we know he's got the pace, but equally needs to watch out for Sweetcrown19, who's only 1.5 seconds behind. Josh, too, after getting caught up in that incident, working his way back up the grid, up into 10th now, but potentially a nice little switchback from Hartman, as Josh, too, maybe takes a bit of a funky line, maybe struggling in these wet weather conditions, as now they're still going side by side through this downhill chicane. I call it the Vettel chicane from Canada 2019 in the real life Grand Prix. Those who know, those who don't, go watch that race.
Oh,
it was a dandy.
Mafia?
Oh yeah, fell right down the order. As,
and Knight's gone super wide.
Yeah, so maybe missing the braking point, taking that exit road, and coming back out in P4, but now battling Izat Kush here as they're going side by side through the hairpin, and Izat Kush with the inside line, I think will get that overtake done. But no, I actually didn't notice it up until you mentioned. I'm not too sure what happened to Monkey Mafia, but falling right down the order as he was putting a lot of pressure on Cozy, I thought, for P2, and Cozy's still doing a good job holding on to that P2, but look who's right behind. That's ISRL Assassin, and we've actually got a bit of a train of cars here behind Cozy, as Assassin going down the inside into turn 1. Both drivers keeping it clean here, it looks like. Izat Kush right up in the bumper as well. Assassin gets the overtake done, and I think Izat Kush is going to try to get an overtake done down the inside here. Knight and Sweet Crown down the inside at Knight, as you said. Oh my, loads of moves happening at the same time here, and this is what we want to be seeing here on this 5-lap race. Lots of battles going on, and so many overtakes here. Well, that's
Mushroom's able to walk away.
Yeah, already basically a 4-second gap, as oh no, Cozy falling down into 5th as Assassin, Izat Kush, Sweet Crown 19, after starting from the back of the order, already on lap 4 up into positions 2, 3, and 4, and trying to close up this 3.5-second gap to ISRL Mushroom. But with a lap and, well, basically a lap and a straight to go, will they have enough time to close up and get an overtake done?
Yeah, Mushroom has no penalties either. Izat has a 5-second penalty.
Yeah, I think Izat getting a bit of a move on, but maybe getting a little bit too aggressive here in this 5-lap race, as really extending the track. Extending the track limits. As I just saw Pretzels have a bit of a tank slapper through the exit of the hairpin, and now Carter very close. But thankfully for Pretzels, was able to catch it without taking any damage. So other than losing out on just a little bit of time, it could have been much worse for him, as potentially saw his race over. But already here on the last lap, the gap down to 2.4. But what were you going to say?
Oh, they're catching Mushroom. He's got to be sweating bullets right now.
Yeah, definitely gripping the steering wheel maybe a little bit harder than he would here on this last lap. But thankfully for Mushroom, he's got a bit of an advantage with penalties. Pretzels and Monkey Mafia battling it out here on track, and it looks as though Pretzels up into 8th, but now Carter trying to make a lunge here, and I think he does get the move done relatively quickly. But I want to jump back here to the lead. As you can see now with the onboard, Assassin can see Mushroom in the distance there, but I think it's too little too late, barring an incident here on the final chicane. But no, it looks as though Mushroom takes it very well, so Mushroom will take the win here in the second race from pole. What a drive from the Mushy Mush, with Sweet Crown 19 coming up into second with a fastest lap for his troubles, keeping that clean race, and Assassin getting a P3, but losing out on that P2 by 0.2 of a second, as now the other
up 13 spots.
Oh my goodness, what a drive from Sweet Crown 19. I feel like I say that every week, but once again he keeps showing why he's so touted and renowned in the league like he is, pumping out performances left, right, and center. And there we go, the game even awarding the driver of the day, and showing off that Michael Schumacher mug, the fake German, once again on the podium. But there we go, ISRL Mushroom taking the win, basking into the trophy, basking into the champagne, and he must be extremely ecstatic about taking that win here in the second race, after not having the first race he was hoping for, and I'm sure he's really enjoying seeing that British flag at the top step of the podium there.
Yeah, he might have played it tactically, but then again, you're allowed to do that.
Yep,
Get no,
nothing.
he got no points in the first race, so he maximized it in the second race.
Yep,
Fortunately,
exactly.
he's only acquired himself 25.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, points are points, no matter how you get them.
Bragging
but,
rights.
Yeah, bragging rights nonetheless. So Mushroom from pole takes the win with Sweetcrow 19 coming in second with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix after qualifying, well, starting in 15th. Assassin here in third, Knight in fourth, so a strong drive from Knight getting that P4, so some solid points there. And Carter rounding out the top five. Izat Kush falling down into sixth after penalties there, with the Monkey Mafia in seventh, Joseph Cozy in eighth, Hartman in ninth, and Pretzels rounding up the top 10. So those are your point getters for the second race, with Dark just missing out in 11th, Josh 2 in 12th, Feral Fury in 13th, Chill Mo in 14th, Sophion in 15th, and J-Dunk rounding out the order in 15th, as I think it looked as though he had a retirement from this second race, maybe after getting caught up into that incident early on, as he does have the DNF. But oh my, what a race that was here for the for Formula Fridays. Oh my.
It's a wild one. We excuse me. We did try and change the concept. I mean, to be fair, we've had a bunch of different winners, and I feel as if when the guys that won the first race get up there and finish on the podium, or even win the second race, it's almost better now that they did that in a 5-lap race. Plus, it's also good to see guys like your Mushrooms, your Cozy running up there in second for most of the race. But it's good to see those guys that you don't normally see running at the front actually, running at the front and taking victories like Mushroom has today. So
well, exactly. It brings out the different the different victors, excuse me, here in the race. And of course, for the likes of these the drivers that have shown time and time again they can work their way up the grid, well, they really have to work for it this time around. Like we're seeing it, we saw it here in Canada. Izak Kush did do a very good job of working his way up the grid here in the 5-lap race, but took a lot of penalties in the process, which in a 5-lap race is definitely going to come back and bite you, as we saw there, as with all the work he put out on track, only gets a P7 for his troubles. But that said, I think that might just about wrap it up here for Formula Fridays, as I think normally we'll save the post-race interviews for the main events on Sunday. So I'm just gonna check in, Sunik. Any closing remarks before we end off the stream here?
No, just really enjoyed it from these guys again. They seem to put on a great show every Friday, so really like kicking the weekends off like this, and thanks for having me, Eric.
Hey, thanks for being here. Always appreciate having you here. Like I said, co-commentator and partner in crime here in the commentator's booth. But here for Formula Fridays, that's going to do it for us. But we're just kicking off the weekend events. Make sure to tune in on Sunday for Tier 3 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Tier 2 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Tier 1 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time here at the Canadian Grand Prix. But until then, I've been Fallen Monkeys, joined by ISRL Esports, and for us here at Formula Fridays, we will see you next week.